Good morning and welcome to Breakfast News. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. This is day's first comprehensive roundup of news and developments from across India and the world. Raisina Dialogue started in New Delhi with a focus on the pandemic and India's role as global health solution provider. We'll also track COVID and vaccination updates. Tough restrictions come into place in Maharashtra as it battles the spike in cases. And today's birth anniversary of Chief Architect of Indian Constitution, Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. All that and more. First, the top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 6th edition of Raisina Dialogue. Delivering the inaugural address, Prime Minister calls for reorienting global order to make it human-centric. Prime Minister Modi congratulates Jordan King on the occasion of 100th anniversary of founding of Jordan. In his message, PM says the two sides would continue to walk side by side in joint efforts for a greater future for humanity. Nation remembers the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, on his 130th birth anniversary. Prime Minister says Baba Saheb's struggles to bring the deprived section of the society to the mainstream will remain a great example for all generations. India fast-tracks emergency approval for foreign-produced COVID-19 vaccines that have been granted emergency use authorization in other countries. Indian regulator grants permission for restricted use in emergency situations to Sputnik vaccine from Russia. COVID-19 situation grim in 10 Indian states. Maharashtra tightens restrictions from today. Section 144 in the whole state for the next 15 days. Meanwhile, vaccination coverage in the country crosses the 11 crore mark. Campaigning intensifies for the fifth phase of polling in West Bengal. Leaders from all political parties address election rallies. Meanwhile, Election Commission bars BJP leader Rahul Sinha from campaigning for 48 hours. And in sports, in UEFA Champions League, English side Chelsea and French team Paris Saint-Germain march to the semi-finals. Chelsea defeats FC Porto for aggregate score of 2-1, while despite having a tie in aggregate score, PSG beat Bayern on away goals. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the 2021 edition of Raisina Dialogue via video conferencing yesterday. Now, this is the first time since it was started that the dialogue is being organized virtually. This year, the dialogue will have 50 sessions with participation of some 150 speakers across 50 countries and multilateral organizations. Prime Minister, in his inaugural speech, has called for a rethink on the global order to make it more human-centric in the light of global pandemic and its effect on the world economy and politics.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the current pandemic and its effects have presented an opportunity to the world leaders to reshape the global order and reorient the thinking. Addressing the Raisina Dialogue 2021 virtually on Tuesday, Prime Minister said that the world is at a watershed moment due to the COVID-19 pandemic as the nations were underprepared to deal with the challenge.
It is not too late even now. The mistakes and misdeeds of the past 7 decades need not constrain our thinking for the future. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented us an opportunity to reshape the world order, to reorient our thinking. We must create systems that addresses the problems of today and challenges of tomorrow.
Prime Minister lamented the fact that the world order that emerged after the two world wars was essentially to prevent World War III. Instead, world leaders could have addressed issues which affect humanity. Prime Minister further added that the race for economic development and competition pushed real issues to the back burner.
All the governments of the world at all levels are trying to contain and control this pandemic. Why did it come to this? Is it perhaps because in the race of economic development, the concern for welfare of humanity had been left behind? Is it perhaps because in the age of competition, the spirit of cooperation has been forgotten?
Prime Minister further said that despite limited resources, India walked the talk and helped many nations in the fight against the global pandemic. He also reassured the world that India will continue to share its expertise and resources.
We will continue to share our experiences, our expertise, and also our resources with the entire humanity in the fight against the pandemic.
Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar stressed on South-South cooperation, humanitarian assistance, disaster resistance in the virtual meeting of the Raisina Dialogue 2021.
Even before the pandemic, if you look in terms of humanitarian assistance, whether it was an earthquake in Nepal or a civil war in Yemen or a cyclone in Mozambique or a typhoon in Fiji or a mudslide in Sri Lanka, or whether it is, taking the Paris agenda forward through, initiatives like the International Solar Alliance, or, how to respond collectively towards disaster resilience. So there are very practical ways by which we have demonstrated our belief in the world as a family.
Vaccine Maitri is a humanitarian initiative taken by India to provide made in India vaccines to the countries around the world. And India has once again demonstrated that it is possible to share resources and expertise with the world despite challenges, and possible to work for a united and a better global order. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated His Majesty King Abdullah II, people of Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the State of Jordan through a video message. In his message, Prime Minister said that under the far-sighted leadership of His Majesty King Abdullah, Jordan has achieved sustainable and inclusive growth. He added that in an important region of the world, Jordan has emerged as a powerful voice and a global symbol of moderation and inclusivity. PM asserted that His Majesty the King continues to play a key role in the promotion of peace in West Asia. He also said that India and Jordan are united in the belief that moderation and peaceful coexistence are essential for peace and prosperity. PM Modi stressed that the two countries will continue to walk side by side in our joint efforts for a better future for all humanity. On to some COVID updates now. Two major decisions have been taken by Government of India that will help in expediting the pace of COVID-19 vaccination in the country. After Covaxin and Covishield, Sputnik vaccine developed in Russia has become the third COVID-19 vaccine to be approved for restricted emergency use authorization in India. Other than that, government has also decided to fast-track emergency approvals for those foreign-produced vaccines that have been granted emergency approvals in some countries or have been listed by the WHO. Here's more. The Government of India has intensified its fight against COVID-19. The Sputnik vaccine, developed by Gamaleya Institute in Russia, has been granted emergency use authorization for restricted use by India's national regulator. It is the third vaccine that has been approved by Drugs Controller General of India after Covaxin and Covishield. This is set to fasten the pace of COVID-19 vaccination in India. The Sputnik vaccine would be administered intramuscularly in 2 doses in an interval of 21 days. It has to be stored at -18 degrees Celsius.
बहुत मेहनत के साथ इस वैक्सीन के सिस्टमैटिक स्टडी करते करते अच्छे तरीके से इस वैक्सीन का ट्रायल हुआ, पूरी प्रक्रिया को पूरा किया गया।
In another major development, the government has taken a major step to boost availability of COVID vaccines in India by fast-tracking emergency approvals for foreign-produced COVID vaccines that have been granted emergency use authorizations in the US, UK, Europe or Japan or have listed in WHO emergency use listing.
बाहर के जो विदेश में बने हुए वैक्सीन हैं, अगर उनको यूएस के रेगुलेटर ने, यूके के रेगुलेटर ने, ईयू के रेगुलेटर ने और जापान के रेगुलेटर ने अप्रूव किया है या डब्ल्यूएचओ की इमरजेंसी यूज ऑथराइजेशन लिस्ट में इंक्लूड हो गया है, then that or those vaccines are approved for use in India.
As cases continue to rise, Corona curfew was imposed in Bhopal, capital of Madhya Pradesh. It came into effect on Tuesday and shall remain in force till 19th of April. In Delhi, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal appealed to people to donate as much plasma as possible.
बढ़ती हुई संख्या को देख के हम निरंतर प्रयास कर रहे हैं। कुल मिला के 36,446 बेड्स हमारे पास कोविड के इलाज के लिए आज उपलब्ध हैं।
अभी स्टॉक में प्लाज्मा बहुत कम है और डेली प्लाज्मा की बहुत ज़्यादा डिमांड आ रही है। आप सब लोगों से निवेदन है कि अगर आप पिछले कुछ दिनों में बीमार हुए और ठीक हो गए हैं तो आप प्लीज़ आप LNJP में, राजीव गांधी में और ILBS में जाके आप प्लीज़ प्लाज्मा डोनेट कीजिए।
Maharashtra, Punjab and Chhattisgarh are among the worst affected states in India in view of number of fresh cases and casualties. The centre has already dispatched central teams to states that are worst hit to help them bring the situation under control. The government has also appealed to people to continue to practice COVID-appropriate behaviour and consume products advised by the Ayush Ministry to boost immunity. Bureau Report, DD India. And day 3 of the countrywide Tika Utsav or vaccination festival saw total vaccinations cross the 11 crore mark on the third day. Over 25 lakh vaccine doses were administered yesterday, while 45,000 COVID vaccination centres on an average are functional on any given day. Workplace vaccinations have also enabled such a high turnout of beneficiaries. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country stands at around 11.10 crore. India had reported some 10 crore 12 lakh 84,282 vaccination coverage on day 85th. That's 10th of April 2021. A total of 25 lakh vaccine doses were given till 8 p.m. And the 8th day of nationwide COVID-19 vaccination. That was the data that came in. And my colleague Kamal Bora is joining us from Assam, Guwahati on phone line with more updates on the COVID situation. Kamal, just fill us in with the COVID update from Assam, and also how's the vaccination drive and Tika Utsav coming along? All right, we're connecting with my colleague Kamal Bora, who's joining us from Guwahati on a phone line. Kamal, if you're with us, give us the update on the COVID situation in Assam as it stands at the moment, and the vaccination drive. How's it coming along? And Tika Utsav is coming along for the past 4 days. It's the day 3 of the Tika Utsav. Saw the total vaccinations in the country cross the 11 crore mark. Over 25 lakh vaccine doses were administered just yesterday. Workplace vaccination camps have also been set up to boost the manner in which vaccination drive is coming along in the country. It's also crucial in the view of a third vaccine being approved by the Indian administration. The Sputnik vaccines from Russia is also now approved. This alongside Covaxin and Covishield is going to be used for vaccination. We'll again try and connect to my colleague Kamal Bora, who's connecting from Guwahati. But meanwhile, Tapas is joining us from Delhi. Taposh, give us an update on the COVID management going on at the moment. Of course, the number 11 crore mark of vaccination is an important milestone that has been achieved.
Absolutely, and considering the fact that the government was very clear from the outset that the vaccination of each and every individual is a priority, and keeping in mind that yesterday the figures that were given were seriously amazing. Almost 10.85 crore vaccines were given to individuals, and in the last 24 hours almost 40 lakh vaccines were provided. So in many ways one could see that the vaccine drive has reached a crescendo, especially in the Tika Utsav that the Prime Minister has spoke about, and almost you could say that this particular emphasis on vaccination drive needs to be, this drive needs to be taken further up in the days to come, because there is a tendency to get laxed as one achieve a milestone. But it is important that they can take it forward so that this particular drive does not diminish us, and India's idea of vaccinating its citizens, especially people over 45, should actually happen as soon as possible, and that is something that the government has been working on, and that's one of the reasons why you could see that the third vaccine has already been approved, and emphasis has been given to other vaccines around the world.
Taposh, on that front, if I could just interrupt, an important decision that came up yesterday was the decision to fast-track the emergency use of vaccines from across the world that have been approved elsewhere. Now, broadly, how many vaccines we are possibly looking at, and how soon could that become a reality?
Well, let's just put it this way, Shubhendu, that we've been told that by our sources that almost 5 vaccines are in the pipeline, and these are apart from the one which have already with government's yesterday's announcement that any vaccine which has been approved by Western European countries, or for that matter in Japan or by WHO, they will be granted special approval, and they can come and be provided to India. But apart from that, we've been told that almost 5 vaccines are already in pipeline. They are in different stages of approval, and let's say in a couple of months, by the third quarter of this year, one will have at least 5 more vaccines in India. But one has to see whether that particular timeline that I spoke about, that third quarter, can come a little faster, because of the fact that now government has opened up the idea of these particular vaccines to come and be provided to Indians, because earlier these particular vaccines had to go through the clinical trials and had to provide the data to the authorities to understand and to give approval in situ principal approval. But right now, with the government's initiative, these particular this particular this thing has to can be bypassed. Although remember, there is a very important part that has not been said earlier, is that even though you get approval, in principle approval to get this vaccine, once these vaccines are come to India, these vaccine manufacturer has to go through the stringent criteria of approval of phase 3 trials or other trials that have been going on. They have to side by side go through all that thing, so that the idea is that the vaccine will be provided to Indian citizens. But behind, parallelly, these vaccine manufacturer has to get the approval in due course of time. So those things has to go hand in hand.
There, Taposh, thanks very much for joining us with those updates. And let's also now try and connect with my colleague Kamal Bora, who's joining us from Guwahati on the phone line. Kamal, if you're with us, good morning. Fill us in with the details of the COVID situation in Assam, and also final day of the COVID Tika Utsav. How's been the impact of it?
Yes, Subhendu, first of all, let me tell you about the COVID scenario here
Yes.
in Assam. So far, if I have to talk about yesterday, about 59,310 tests were conducted, and out of that, 590 cases were detected at an positivity rate of 0.99%. So, and if we let me tell you the total number of cases so far is 2.24 lakhs. This is the total number of cases detected, but as far as the active cases are concerned, the number would be 2,924. This is the number of the active cases right now, and yesterday also one death took place, and with that only the total number of deaths has become around 1,119. So this is the COVID scenario. Though the countries are facing, the cases are rising in a very faster rate, but in Assam, though tests are being conducted, but the positivity rate is quite low, and this is the good news so far. But yes, the state government is quite really concerned about that, and they are taking all positive possible steps to get rid of COVID-19. And as far as the Tika Utsav is concerned, yes, today is the last day, and during the last 3 days we have seen that it's been observed quite smoothly, and so far more than 58,000 people have been inoculated, and today also we are expecting a very low turnout, because from today itself the Assam is celebrating Bihu, one of the very important festivals. So definitely the turnout may be a little less, but without any doubt, I can say that after Tika Utsav also the drive will be continuing and people will be coming up. And since we have seen that the number of people above 45 years, they are also coming up in a huge number. So far, more than 8 lakh people got vaccinated who are under above 45 years. So it shows that people are getting concerned, and they are really getting aware of the present scenario, and they are really showing their interest. And we are seeing a huge number in the session sites in Guwahati as well as in the whole state.
Right, Kamal, also you mentioned Bihu festivities. How are people of Assam taking in the challenge of COVID-19 while celebrating the festivities?
Yes, Subhendu, let me tell you that last year also, the people of Assam couldn't celebrate Bihu. This is one of the most important festivals,
yes.
And it could not be celebrated due to COVID-19. But this time, people saw little hope that even government was saying that they can celebrate Bihu, but there is certain conditions are there. There have been new SOPs have been issued that Bihu functions cannot be cannot be held after 11 p.m. And all the committees, Bihu committees, whoever organize these Bihu functions, they have to obey the whole protocols. They have to conduct this for the artists, for their own members, and they have to maintain this social distancing in the sitting arrangements for the people. So all these have been guidelines have been issued for the Bihu committees, and they have also. It seems that they are also cooperating with the state government, though they are trying to celebrate this Bihu, but it will not be like earlier, the normal Bihu, but definitely they are going to do it in their own way to maintaining this COVID protocol in all the committees, on all the Bihu committees.
Right there, Kamal. Thanks very much for joining us with those inputs from Guwahati. And in Maharashtra, 15-day strict restrictions will be imposed in the state. They already are in place from 8 to break the chain of the virus. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray had yesterday said the daily spike of COVID cases is scary, as the reason Section 144 will be imposed across the state. The Chief Minister said during this period, public transport like local trains in Mumbai and bus services will not be suspended, but only employees from the essential services will be allowed to commute. Essential services will be operational from 7 in the morning till 8 in the evening. Hospitals, employees from medical fields, vaccine makers, mask manufacturers, workers from animal husbandry department, warehousing, air service will be functional. Reserve Bank of India, banks, e-commerce, accredited journalists, cargo services will also be functional. Private establishments will be closed during this period. Unnecessary movement of people will be completely barred. Some poll-bound news now. Campaigning is in full swing for the 5th phase of assembly elections in West Bengal. Top leaders of various political parties are crisscrossing the poll-bound constituencies in West Bengal. 45 constituencies across 6 districts will go for the elections in the 5th phase of polls on 17th of April. The maximum 16 seats are in the district of North 24 Parganas. Continuing with its high-voltage campaigning, BJP Chief JP Nadda will hold a roadshow in Bangaon North. Besides, he will also address 2 election rallies in Katwa and Jamalpur. He will also hold hall meetings in Asansol. Meanwhile, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will hold 2 election rallies in West Bengal today. He will hold public meeting in Golpakar in Uttar Dinajpur district at Matigara in district Darjeeling. Meanwhile, yesterday, senior BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah addressed an election rally in Darjeeling. Addressing the public rally, Shah said TMC government has suppressed the pace of development in the past 5 years.
आजादी के बाद कांग्रेस, कम्युनिस्ट और अब ये दीदी तीनों ने दार्जिलिंग के विकास को फुल स्टॉप लगा दिया है। मैं आज आपको कहने आया हूं, भारतीय जनता पार्टी और इसके सहयोगी दल के सारे नेता यहां बैठे हैं। एक बार आप मोदी जी को मैंडेट दे दीजिए, 5 साल में दार्जिलिंग की सभी समस्याओं का समाधान नरेंद्र मोदी जी निकाल कर।
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the Association of Indian Universities 95th Annual Meet and National Seminar of Vice Chancellors today through video conferencing. He will also launch 4 books related to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, authored by Kishore Makwana, named Dr. Ambedkar Jeevan Darshan, Dr. Ambedkar Vyakti Darshan, Dr. Ambedkar Rashtra Darshan and Dr. Ambedkar Ayam Darshan. Governor and Chief Minister of Gujarat, Union Education Minister, will also be present on the occasion. The 2-day annual meet is a platform to inform members about the recommendations of zonal vice chancellors' meets and other discussions conducted throughout the year. The meet will also commemorate and celebrate 96th Foundation Day of AIU. It was established in 1925 under the patronage of stalwarts like Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan and Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. A national seminar of vice chancellors on the theme Implementing National Educational Policy 2020 to transform higher education in India is also being organized during the meet. It aims to work out implementation strategies for recently launched National Education Policy 2020 with a clear-cut action plan on effectively implementing the policy in the interest of the primary stakeholders, the students. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday interacted with Intel CEO Patrick Jalsinga. In a tweet message, he said, had extensive discussions on the role of technology in furthering human progress, digital India efforts and investment opportunities in India. That's the message that Prime Minister sent out, had extensive discussions on the role of technology in furthering human progress, digital India efforts and investment opportunities in particular in India. And today is the 130th birth anniversary of the chief architect of India's constitution, Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will pay floral tributes to Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla will also pay floral tributes to Dr. Ambedkar. The Jayanti celebrations at Dr. Ambedkar Memorial at Chaitya Bhumi, Shivaji Park will be broadcast live today with the COVID pandemic also in place. Also known as Ambedkar Jayanti, the day is celebrated as Equality Day in the country. And President sent out that tweet message. Dr. Ambedkar waged a lifelong struggle to create an equitable society. By taking inspiration from his life and thoughts, we resolve to inculcate his ideals in our conduct. It's a tweet message sent out by President. And Prime Minister also said his struggle to bring the marginalized sections of society into mainstream will continue to be an example for every generation. I bow to great Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar on Ambedkar Jayanti. And my colleague Shishir Shelar is joining us with more updates on Ambedkar Jayanti celebrations from Mumbai. Shishir, take us through how the day is observed at Chaitya Bhumi in particular, also amid the COVID restrictions in place.
Well, absolutely, Shubhendu. If you look at the situation here, every year we see thousands of people come at Chaitya Bhumi, at Mumbai's Chaitya Bhumi, to take darshan of Dr. Baba Ambedkar here. But this time around, the situation is quite different because of the COVID, because obviously we have seen here that Maharashtra is registering the maximum number of cases, the positive cases in the country, and that's the reason the state government have come out with an SOP that what needs to be followed during this celebration here. Just few days back, the Maharashtra government have said that while celebrating this day, we will have to follow all the COVID rules and regulations here. Not more than 5 people are allowed at one place to gather while celebrating this entire event. The timing has also been fixed between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. People can celebrate this event between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And especially I'm talking to you about the Chaitya Bhumi where I'm standing and the Diksha Bhumi in Nagpur. These two places are quite important places, and that's the reason the Ambedkar followers throngs in a large number every year to both these places here. Keeping that in mind, the state government have taken precautionary measures and have also requested people not to gather at these places. For that, special arrangements have been done here. Government have said that people can stay at home and they can see the entire live program from Chaitya Bhumi on their TV sets, and those kind of arrangements have already been made here. So obviously when we talk about this celebration here, we also have to think about the COVID situation in the state, and that's the reason even Ambedkar followers here, people who have been following Ambedkar who want to celebrate here, but at the same time they have to keep in mind that the current situation, how it's panning out. Well, the government have already time and again reaching out to the people and giving them instructions on how they can be at home, how they can safely they can celebrate it. But at the same time, we the people should also consider that looking at this situation outside, need to take care of ourselves, and that's the reason. Be it a social distancing, mask, and as far as other COVID protocols are concerned, we have to follow it by ourselves. Well, Doordarshan will be showing the entire program from Chaitya Bhumi on Doordarshan live virtually, and people can view it from the television sets also, and that's what even the state government have made arrangements and have requested people not to gather at Chaitya Bhumi. Yes, Shubhendu.
Right. Shishir, also traditionally, if you can give us an insight about the manner in which the followers of Baba Saheb, they celebrate the day. Of course, his life is a message, an inspirational message in itself.
Well, absolutely. His life, you rightly said here, is that it's a message like those, especially the people at the lowest strata of the society. He has given a message to unite and to fight together. Obviously, we have to take many a cue from his message also, and we have to learn from it also. At the same time, when I'm telling you about this particular celebration on this particular day, where Chaitya
and
Bhumi,
Shishir, if you are at Chaitya Bhumi, if you could just ask the camera person to pan a little and show us the glimpse of what arrangements are being made at the venue. And please continue.
Well, absolutely, Shubhendu. Right now, what we got to know is that the Chief Minister has just arrived at the venue. The official functions are going to start in just few moments at the Chaitya Bhumi here. And as I told you, that people can watch this entire, the live telecast of this entire program here on the television sets here. As I'm telling you about it, I will tell my camera person to pan the camera here. The Chief Minister have already been arrived here, and I want to show you that as I'm talking about you. In a normal day, if you come here, for example, if there would have been COVID, then probably thousands of people would have gathered at this location here every year. But this time around, as I'm talking to you, the government have set some rules and SOPs, and that's the reason people can't come at Chaitya Bhumi. But we, as a national broadcaster, are also bringing all these live footages to the people, the television sets here, so they can sit at home safely and be a part of this entire official event that's been celebrated at the Chaitya Bhumi here. So I was telling to you that every year we see that thousands of people gathered here. Government made some special arrangements for them. For example, The special trains have also been, arranged by the railways also and the state government also. Even the special bus services also been plied on this route also. But this time around, as I'm talking to you, all these have been cancelled here. In spite of that, the government have come out with the SOP here, which stated that not more than 5 people can come together to celebrate this festival. At the same time, those who want to celebrate, they can be at home. They can do puja also at home and do darshan also. But by sitting at home and not coming out from the home, that's what the clear message given by the state government here. And people, I've been coming from this entire route here. I've been seeing that people also following that COVID protocol while was coming to Chaitya here.
Shishir, thanks very much for joining us with those updates from Mumbai. And a gentle reminder to facilitate people to pay tributes to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar safely from their homes in the context of the ongoing COVID pandemic. Doordarshan Sahidri will telecast the Ambedkar Jayanti function live from Chaitya Bhumi from 9 a.m. today, just a short while from now. Moving on, Prime Minister extended greetings on the special occasion of Puthandu. Puthandu marks a new beginning and is celebrated with a lot of fervour among the millions all over the world. On the eve of Puthandu, the millions decorate a tray with fruits, vegetables, neem flowers and leaves, new clothes. This tray is then placed in the house temple in front of a mirror. The Prime Minister extended greetings on Bohag Bihu. Assam's Bihu festival marks beginning of Assamese New Year. During the Bohag Bihu, Assamese people get dressed in their best traditional attire, dhoti, gamosa, and dance in circles singing the traditional Bihu geets. And Prime Minister also wished people on Odia New Year. The occasion is celebrated as Maha Vishubha Sankranti or Pana Sankranti, named after Pana, the main drink prepared on the occasion. People across the state throng temples and relish the special offerings, Bela Panna. The festival is celebrated with visits to Shiva, Shakti, Hanuman temples, as the day is considered to be the birthday of Lord Hanuman. Prime Minister extended greetings also on the occasion of Vishu. Vishu marks the first day of the Malayalam calendar. Let's get some international updates now from across the globe. US President Joe Biden has planned to pull all military forces out of Afghanistan by September 11th, completing the military exit by the 20th anniversary of the September 2001 attacks. The move will extend military presence in Afghanistan beyond the May 1st withdrawal date, previously negotiated by former President Donald Trump. Biden will formally announce the withdrawal and detail the way forward with Afghanistan today. Meanwhile, in a statement last month, Taliban had threatened to resume hostilities against foreign troops in Afghanistan if they did not meet the May 1st deadline. However, Biden administration said that terrorist organizations Al-Qaeda do not pose a threat to U.S. homeland now. There are over 2,500 U.S. troops in Afghanistan currently, down from a peak of more than 100,000 in the year 2011. About 2,400 U.S. service members have been killed in the course of the Afghan conflict. Meanwhile, Taliban spokesperson has said that the movement would refrain from taking part in any conference until foreign military presence in Afghanistan is ended. The spokesperson said until all foreign forces completely withdraw from their homeland, the Islamic Emirate will not participate in any conference that shall make decisions about Afghanistan. Earlier, United Nations announced that Afghan Peace Conference is scheduled to take place in Istanbul from 24th April to 4th May in cooperation with the government of Qatar. The United States has said that they expect its relationship with Russia to remain a challenge. White House hoped that they can work together on arms control issues, the Iran nuclear deal, and other issues. US President Joe Biden proposed a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin during a telephone call on Tuesday and underlined US commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Russia has seized Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, that has increased the tension in the recent weeks. Earlier on Tuesday, White House said that the country has been watching the increasing aggression of the Russian forces on the Ukraine border and are in contact with Ukrainian officials. as well. Russia's defense minister said that the country's massive military build-up in the western region of the nation was part of the practice drills amid threats from NATO. He added that maneuvers in western Russia would last for another couple of weeks. Defense Minister Shoigu said that NATO was planning to deploy 40,000 troops and over 15,000 military units of equipment close to Russian territory. A large build-up of Russian forces close to Ukraine's eastern border and in Crimea has escalated tensions in the recent weeks. Meanwhile, Russia on Tuesday called the United States an adversary and told US warships to stay well away from Crimea for their own good. Let's also now look at the updates on the COVID front from across the globe. More than 13 crore 80 lakh people worldwide have tested positive for COVID-19 so far, while over 11 crore people have recovered from the coronavirus. The deadly virus has so far claimed over 29 lakh 71,000 lives globally. US continues to be the worst affected country by the COVID pandemic. So far, more than 3 crore 20 lakh people have tested positive for COVID-19 in the US. More than 5 lakh 77,000 people have died of COVID in America. Pharmaceutical giant Pfizer CEO has said that the company has ramped up production of its COVID-19 vaccine and can deliver 10% more doses than expected to the United States by the end of May. The news comes after US health authorities earlier in the day called for a pause on the use of Johnson & Johnson's COVID vaccine after 6 women aged between 18 to 48 developed a rare type of blood clot that left one dead and another in critical condition. The White House said it was confident there would be no significant impact on vaccination plan in the world's hardest hit country, where almost half of all adults have now received at least one dose. And US President Joe Biden on Tuesday sought to allay concerns that the pause in inoculation of Johnson & Johnson vaccine for COVID-19 would not negatively impact the ability of Americans to be vaccinated. Biden suggested that neither the Pfizer vaccine nor Moderna vaccine had the same trouble as Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and there was as much as 600 million doses of those two types of vaccines available. US federal health agency recommended pausing the use of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine for at least a few days after 6 women under the age of 50 developed rare blood clots after receiving the shot. The US Food and Drug Administration aimed at providing information to healthcare providers on how to diagnose and treat the clots. The moves come after European regulators had found a possible link between AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine and a similar rare blood clotting problem that led to a small number of casualties. Israel may start allowing limited entry of vaccinated tourist groups next month. Officials believe that Israel's own inoculation campaign has sharply brought down the COVID-19 infections. All foreign visitors will be required to present a negative PCR test before boarding a flight to Israel and a serological test to prove their vaccination upon arrival at the Ben Gurion airport in Tel Aviv. A statement from the Health and Tourism Ministry said a limited number of groups will start arriving on May 23rd. In the initial phase of the plan, no exact figures have been shared. At a later stage, the group entry will be expanded and individual travelers will also be let in. With Israel's health situation determining the timeline, last week after a public outcry, the government started allowing non-Israeli immediate relatives to visit Israel for special events such as births and weddings. Over 836,000 people are infected with COVID-19 in Israel. The Dutch government on Tuesday has extended most pandemic lockdown restrictions, including a nighttime curfew, as Prime Minister Mark Rutte cited rising COVID infection rates and hospitals near capacity. The Dutch Prime Minister said that all measures must remain in place until April 28th. Current measures in Netherlands, which has seen 1.3 million coronavirus cases and over 16,000 casualties, the Dutch National Institute for Health said on Tuesday new cases rose by 6% in the week through April 13th to 51,240, resuming an upward trend in the place since January after a slight decline in early April. As of April 4th, roughly 12% of Dutch people had received at least one COVID shot. Let's now move on to our next section, Web News Review. And my colleague Amrit Pal joins us for the details. Good morning, Amrit.
Good morning, Vishwabindu. Well, most newspapers have published news about the COVID situation in the country. I lead with the Times of India. Its printed report says India passed its previous record peak, upward trend causing concern. Center. Now, the Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan held a press conference yesterday where he said that he noted that India is well past last year's COVID surge, and the continuous increase in daily cases is a matter of concern for the country. He gave the example of Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra, saying that the situation is really worrisome there. He said, and if I quote him, if we look at the new cases, we will find that the previous highest surge has already been crossed and the trend is going upward. That's a cause of worry. The health secretary said the situation in Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh particularly is concerning, as both the states are witnessing a major spike in infections. The paper quotes the health secretary saying that the positivity rate in Chhattisgarh has increased from 1.5% to 27.9%. So close to about 20%. It says that Chhattisgarh was reporting hardly 200 cases per day in mid-February, but today it's reporting 11,504 cases. That's the daily cases that are being reported. He says that the average test per million has increased, but it's not kept pace with the change in the situation. And the average daily RT-PCR share of tests is roughly 28 to 30%. And ramping up of the test capacity is needed. He said Uttar Pradesh was reporting an average cases of 89 cases a day, but now it has increased to 10,000. And he says that the average RT-PCR in Uttar Pradesh is 45 to 44%. So they also need to be ramped up. So clearly the situation is grim. He gave similar examples of Maharashtra, where he said that the testing was high, but RT-PCR testing has gone down. The other story that the Times of India has printed is about a UP minister, the law minister of UP, Brajesh Pathak, writing a letter to health officials. It says, inefficient UP minister's scathing letter to health officials amid COVID crisis. Now, Brajesh Pathak expressed his anguish on the stressed out health facilities amid the COVID surge. He said that he desperately tried to save the life of a noted historian and writer, but his efforts proved to be futile. He in fact called up CMO Lucknow when he got a frantic call from Yogesh Praveen's family and asked for an ambulance, but the ambulance never reached. In response to that, the minister, who's an MLA from Lucknow, wrote this letter. So that gives you a sense of how bad the situation is. In fact, he goes on to say, quote figures saying that the RT-PCRs are well, tests are well below what it should be. He says, if I quote the figures, he said that there was a need of about 17,000 kits a day, and the availability was hardly about 10,000 kits. So he said that he alleges that private testing labs have been told not to conduct RT-PCR tests in Uttar Pradesh, and the government facilities are taking 4 to 5 days for the RT-PCR report to come. So he speaks about his own state where his government is in power. The other story that is printed by the Times of India, it says government fast tracks the nod for COVID vaccination cleared in other countries. Now, with surging COVID-19 cases, the government has, the paper says the government has enabled faster access to foreign-made vaccines by doing away with the bridging trial studies prior to grant of emergency authorization for shots approved by recognized regulators like the US FDA or UK's MHRA. Remember earlier, for emergency approvals, if this report is correct, because it's a source-based report, the emergency approval was granted by the Director General of Drug Control after some bridging studies were done on Indian population to see what the effect of the vaccine on Indian population was. Now, the paper says that those trials have been done away with. The other story that the Mint has printed, apart from the COVID stories, it says Air India sale to conclude by September. Government begins the process for inviting financial bids. The government has initiated the process for inviting financial bids for sale of national carrier Air India, and the deal is likely to conclude by September. Remember, the Tata Group had put a preliminary bid for buying the loss-making Air India in December last year. Sources said that after analyzing the preliminary bids, the bidders were given access to what is called a virtual data room, where they could make their own analysis and their queries could be addressed. Now the paper says the transaction has moved to financial bid stage, and that the deal is expected to conclude by September this year. So Shubhendu, that's what's made it the newspapers and web portals. It's back to you.
Right there, Amrit. Thanks very much for getting us the gist of those news reports. And time now to get all the updates from the world of business and finance in BizBus. The Sensex rallied 661 points to close just above 48,500 mark yesterday after the government approved emergency use of vaccines being given in other parts of the world. Banking, metal stocks led the rally while IT sector witnessed profit taking. The day's rally recouped a little over 30% of Monday's loss of 1,708 points. The market also discounted more than expected rise in the retail inflation in March to 5.5% and the sharp 3.6% drop in the February IP number. And some updates from across the world as far as business is concerned. In the US, Wall Street has been riding high as America's vaccination program exceeded expectations, lifting prospects of a speedy economic recovery. But a potential major disruption to that campaign overshadowed optimism. Investors hit the brakes. The Dow closed down 0.2% or 66 points. The other two major indices both ended in the green. S&P 500 notched a new record high, closing 0.3% higher, while the Nasdaq Composite finished up at 1.1%. In Asia, most stocks climbed in early trade following gains in the US equities and bonds, as investors shrugged off a higher than forecast rise in US inflation to focus on the path of global recovery. Hong Kong's benchmark rose and tech stocks lifted China, but shares dipped in Japan amid concerns of a slow vaccine rollout that will crimp activity. In some other updates, the provisional figures for indirect tax collections, both GST and non-GST for the financial year 2021, has registered a growth of 12.3%. Revenue collections are at 10.71 lakh crore rupees in current fiscal as compared to 9.54 lakh crore rupees for the financial year 2019-20. March saw all-time high GST collection at rupees 1.24 lakh crore after very good figures in the month of January and February as well. Several measures taken by the centre helped in improving the compliance as far as GST is concerned. And time for all the action from the world of sports in Sports Track. And Paris Saint-Germain were beaten on the night, but held on to claim an away goals victory over holders Bayern Munich that takes them through to the last four of the Champions League. In a fascinating second leg between the sides that contested last year's final, PSG were threatening on the break, testing the visiting goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer, a number of times and twice hitting the woodwork through Neymar. It was Bayern, though, who broke the deadlock, giving themselves hope of a comeback win. Missing the injured Robert Lewandowski, the German side lacked their usual ruthlessness up front and were unable to find the second goal that would have continued their trophy defiance. PSG will face either Borussia Dortmund or Manchester City in the semi-finals, with the latter holding a 2-1 advantage going into Wednesday's second leg in Germany. And Chelsea survived a spectacular late overhead kick from Mehdi Taremi to overcome Porto and confirm a place in the Champions League semi-finals for the first time in 7 years. Thomas Tuchel admits it was a day to hang in there as his young Chelsea side reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League despite a 1-0 loss to Porto in Seville. The Blues went through 2-1 on aggregate despite a 1-0 loss on the night, surviving a spectacular late Mediterranean overhead kick in wait for the Portuguese outfit. Chelsea's were far from their fluent best, but Tuchel lavished praise on N'Golo Kante, who came in for the injured Mateo Kovacic, and described the midfielder as being like 1.5 or 2 players. Let's now take a look at the weather forecast for the day. And thunderstorm with lightning, hail and gusty winds are very likely at isolated places over Telangana, Chhattisgarh and Vidarbha with lightning and gusty winds. At isolated places over Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura, Maharashtra, Marathwada, Kerala and Mahe. Lightning and winds at isolated places also over Orissa, coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam, south interior Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal. Heavy rainfall is also likely at isolated places over Orissa, Telangana, coastal and south interior of Karnataka, Kerala and Mahe, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal. Meanwhile, heat wave conditions are very likely at isolated pockets over South Haryana. And as we move towards the conclusion of this edition of Breakfast News, we leave you with these spectacular glimpses of Spanish free driver and dancer choreographer Adriana Hafez, who performed breathtaking tango 10 meters underwater. Have a great day ahead. Namaskar.